All right, no more singing. No more singing. The daily has actually started. Ladies and gentlemen, it is June 13th, 2013. And this is the KNKL Daily, number 65, and it is Thoughtful Thursday, so we are gathering together, meditating beneath the bonsai tree on what is life, what it is like to be an artist, and what is the lifestyle of such, and how can we go on becoming better people and improving ourselves and living the good life. And that is what we are talking about today, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get into that, I want to take some time and thank you to everyone. Send out thanks to everyone who has been watching, reading the comic, and a special thank you to Less Than Pie, who is this month's donator and sponsor. If you'd like to join him on the list, simply go to Emma Comic Online and donate as little or as much as you want, and I'll feature your name throughout the month. And I want to say thank you to everyone who has been helping to support the cause of the comic and KNKL in general by buying your very own limited edition poster. There are only going to be 90 of these printed, so please consider getting one for an investment in your future. Alright, and lastly, a trip down the Emma Lovely Lane, because we got something new from June Choi submitted to me, and I had to post this to the Facebook as soon as I got it, because it's awesome. We have Chef Emma creating her world-famous peanut butter and zombie blood sandwiches. You might think that's jelly, but it is actually zombie blood, and that is a little creepy. But enough of that. Actually, it probably is jelly, but I just thought it would be funny. I thought, wouldn't it be creepy if you like saw the zombie in the background that actually got killed, and you know that that's what's in the sandwich? Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to what we want to talk about today, because we are talking about a couple things. In fact, I want to kind of follow up on something we were talking about last week, and that was about fear, right? And I was talking a lot about how I had like these weird, anxious feelings about things that I was working on in the comic, and these feelings of inadequacy that I was struggling with. And one of those things being drawing vehicles, drawing like these weird, like lots of pullback shots, lots of faraway shots, because I'm really used to drawing, you know, close-ups of the characters. You get to show their faces, you get to draw them all nice and close up, get to capture all that expression. And these are the things that I'm usually used to doing, right? But now I'm really challenging myself with this next part that's going to be coming out to have a lot of really good establishing shots where we're really showing where these stories are taking place. And just as an example, I want to show you guys what I was working on. Alright, so this was the page that ended up coming out, right? So we've got like this top-down angle of all of these bikers, you know, riding their bikes, and then they're kind of meeting up with Clem, who's in the front. He's got the giant cow scoop right on the front of his thing, because they're going to plow through this horde of zombies that's in front of them they're about to run into. And you know, just like these multiple like crazy angles looking down, you know, showing gesture, showing multiple characters interacting. Then on top of that, I have to draw these vehicles in a form that is recognizable as to what it is, but also in a simplified style, right? And it still needs to look good. Like, I'm really big on perspective. I want at least the perspective to look right, and then I want the shapes and the style to kind of complement it. And you got like these little grates on the wheels that kind of like open up, right, and will join with Clem's cow scoop, right, to make this giant kind of battering ram, right? So they're driving as like three guys and about to plow through these zombies. And I was really excited about this shot, but I kept putting this off. I kept pushing it aside. I was like, okay, that's the last page I'll do, just because I had so much fear and anxiety with doing it. And today I finally just decided that I was going to sit down and allow myself that even if it came out sucky at first, right, that I was going to figure out what I had to do and make it happen, right? Get the job done, right? Make the mistakes first, right? Then improve upon that, so that way in the future. I might look back on this a few months from now and be like, that's terrible. Like the perspective on those motorbikes suck, you know? And there might be, I mean, obviously there's going to be mistakes and I'm going to look back on this later. But for now, I mean, just looking at what we have here, I'm very happy with where it's gone. I feel like it's very imposing, and I feel like there's a lot of action, which is what I wanted to really convey at this point. And I feel like the communication of what is happening is really being communicated well between these frames. So yeah, I just hope I just kind of wanted to show you guys a little bit of the results of kind of what happened, right? Because I had this to work with. This was the original sketches that I came up with, and I really liked them. But see down here, it's like I had nothing figured out. I was like, okay, well, there's going to be kind of like a barricade thing, and You know, I really had to sit down and concept this stuff too. That's the other thing. Is here, I'll pull up the concepts. And you guys saw me working on this a few days ago. And that would be, where is it? CycleRef, here we go. So this is where I had to figure out exactly what the bikes were going to look like. So this is all kind of going into the planning stage. It's like, okay, what's the little mechanism that makes these things fold out? What do they actually look like? How do they look when they're folded in? Is that going to work? That's why I give these guys like giant choppers, right? Because the wheel sits out really, really far, and it allows that grade to come all the way back and not like be poking them in the knee or anything. Like cut their leg off as it comes back and goes like that. That would be bad. Cuts off their feet. That would not be good. That would not be good. Like in Kung Pao, we don't want them with little stubs going on. All right. And for any of you who got that reference, you're awesome. Let's see. Master Betty. So yeah, guys, I just hope that communicates to you guys that, you know, even I still have things that I struggle with, and I always will have things that will challenge me. But you really have to step up. You have to step up, man up, and stare that thing in the face. Stare that thing that you're afraid of in the face, and decide that you're going to just go for it. If it sucks at first, that's fine. You're going to learn and you're going to get better, right? But you can never get better unless you allow yourself to fail at the beginning, okay? And oftentimes you won't do as badly as you think you normally would have. So yeah, looking at this, I'm like, this is freaking awesome. I love this. I can't wait until it's done. And yeah. The day speedily approaches for the conclusion of Emma Part 2, or Issue 2, rather. And I know you guys have been waiting for a long time, and I appreciate you guys being understanding and patient with that. And I'm doing what I can on my end to make sure that I stay on top of it, right? Might go a little slower, might go a little faster sometimes, but know for sure that this is not going to stop. I'm never going to stop until my story is told. All right, guys, so let's actually segue out of that. Let's go into more of the talky phase. This is less drawing, more talking. Who would have thought we would be doing that? All right. Someone got the Kung Pao. Master Betty. Master Betty. That also makes me want actual Kung Pao from like Panda Express. Their Beijing beef. Beijing beef is so good. It's so good. Beijing beef and orange chicken. That's where it's at. Alright guys, so we're going to be kind of following up last week's talk about worry and fear, and we're going to be talking about some more things that really help me out with just these feelings of anxiety. When the fear overtakes me and it literally freezes me in place to the point where I just look for anything to distract me. It's like, oh, I got to go over here. Oh man, I've always wanted to learn to play this song on the guitar, right? Be like, oh, let me just do that. It distracts me from working on that page, right? Oh man, I mean, it's good to clean your room, but it's like, oh man, my room is so dirty. I should totally clean this up, right? I'm like washing everything, like cleaning it, dusting everything, like absolute perfection. Be like, oh, you know what? Oh, I should just go clean the rest of the house too. Oh, I got those dishes to do. And again, these are good things to be doing, but again, they're those quick things that I can latch onto that'll kind of distract me. Oh, hey, there's this game called DayZ. I remember I played that a while ago, but now I should really get back into that, right? And then I stay up all night until like 5 in the morning playing that game. And there's like base building in this server, which is really cool. And it's really, really fun, don't get me wrong. But again, it's just another thing that's very, very easy to distract me and that I can latch onto. And I can put that energy into, that way I don't have to face my fear. And then, seriously, the day that I go and I make the page, which was today, the day that I made the page, I spent an hour on it yesterday. You guys saw me do that. And then I spent another couple hours just going through these next few panels, drawing the motorbikes, drawing those weird angles. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was so afraid. But then, little by little, I started figuring things out. I was like, oh, hey, I can totally do this. I mean, I know the rules that go into making this perspective. Yeah, I'll kind of cheat some things and fudge things a little bit, but you know what? It's a stylized comic. It doesn't have to be. So what if the little cow scoop looks a little different, you know, a couple pages ago? You know, who cares if it looks bigger here? It looks cooler and more intimidating. It's conveying a point. It's telling a story, right? And that kind of stuff is okay. It's like, even if it's a mistake and I look back and wish I wouldn't have done it later, that is okay because I'm learning, I'm failing and growing from it, right? As opposed to just sitting here in fear because I'm afraid that I might fail and just staying here where I'm kind of, at least I know that I'm comfortable, but deep down inside, I know that I'm not doing what I need to, right? And that is damaging. That damages your mind and it kills your self-esteem. And it makes you slip into a downward spiral that has been occurring with me over the past few weeks. But I really feel like things are starting to turn out, and that's just the way things go. I mean, I've always been saying, you know, the road to progress is always going to be a wavy one. Your life is always going to be a series of ups and downs. The ups don't last forever, and the downs don't last forever, right? So you just got to learn that life is constant change. You have to embrace it, and you have to meet it head on, especially when it's things that you fear, because oftentimes they're not as scary as you think. It's oftentimes just an illusion. All right. So, okay, so now we're really going to start diving into a couple ideas that I really want to kind of throw out to you guys, see if it'll plant a seed of interest in your mind, and maybe you'll try it out. Try out these thought patterns. These are things that I really like to think about and things that really, really help me out. And that is the separation of past, present, and future, right? And I've heard tons of talks on this type of stuff. And I think it's very, very important to kind of come to terms with it and kind of explore this thought pattern a little bit, if you will. And it's the thought of, you know, what's past is past, right? So there's no sense in really weighing yourself down in the present for things that have already gone by and that you survived, right? Or things that have gone by that were great and that you lost, right? There's no way to get those things back. There's no way to bring those things back. There's no sense in mourning or being angry or bitter about things that have happened in your past, because it is behind you, right? It takes away attention from what is in the present. Similarly, you don't want to put all of your attention in the future, right? You don't want to worry about things. You don't want to think about all the bad things that could happen tomorrow, next week, next month, 5 years from now. You don't want to think about all that stuff, right? Now, some people will hear this and say, well, I shouldn't think about the future. What about planning for my future? What about my job? What about retirement? What about family and all that stuff? And that is all stuff that, yes, that makes sense. You should plan for the future. But once you get done planning, thinking about the future should only be done when you have a journal, right? Or you have some sort of piece of paper and you're actually making plans. You're making goals for the future. And then once you have all those goals and thoughts of what you want your future to be and how you're going to get there, you close the book on that and you don't think about it again until you open it, right? The future is not meant to be worried about or thought about or have anxiety about. The future is meant to be planned and have goals of what you want to become, and then you set those things aside, and then you get set in the habits and the rituals that occur on a daily basis, right? This is stuff that is happening in the present, right? Because you create your future by what you are doing right now. What you do today will correspond into what you do for the week, and then the week becomes the month becomes the year, okay? But it's all about today. The only thing that you have control over is what happens today. And the other thing about it is that the future is constantly changing. You might be worrying about something that might not even happen. Or, similarly, you might be worrying about something and something else that's even worse comes along, right? Because you were worrying about that other thing, you didn't even stop to think about this other thing that might happen. And this is kind of what I'm talking about. Like, for instance, you worry about this big thing that could happen. It could be like some bill you have to pay or something that, you know, you're afraid you're gonna lose something. But because of all that worry that you're placing on that future thing, you're losing track of all the little things that you need to be taken care of, right, throughout the present, right, what's happening today. No focus is being placed on the things that need to be done today because you're worrying about the future. And then what happens is those things that get neglected on a daily basis build until it's this massive thing that will demand your attention, right? And this is, I mean, it's very, very kind of vague saying it that way, but it really does happen. And it manifests itself in, you know, like, it could manifest itself in some sort of like mental breakdown. It could be, you know, you losing some relationship with somebody. It could be, I don't know, just something that needs a small amount of attention on a daily basis. And if it gets neglected because you're worrying about something that might happen, then that is a recipe for a disaster, and you want to watch out for that, okay? Now, I don't want to make you think that, you know, this is all like negative stuff, right? Because it really isn't that, it's really not that hard, right? And I kind of want to say it this way, right? Taking care of all the little things every day is not hard, right? If you want to have good health, eating well for a day isn't that hard. If you want to have more energy, working out for one day is not that hard, right? But doing it for multiple days in a row, getting into that ritual and making it a habit, that's the hard part. That really, really is the hard part. But if you break it down into little chunks and you do it day by day by day, it's going to be easy, But again, I've heard it said that things that are easy to do are also very easy not to do, right? So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword there that you have to use in your favor to slice the head off of the opponent that would stop you, right? And that is fear. Slice the head off of fear. And yeah, don't let it grow too, because it's not a hydra, or because it is a hydra. If you slice it off and you let it grow back too, that's not good. I think that's a good analogy, but I need to explore that more. That's not. I just came up with that right now. That's a good one. Let me put that down. Fear is a hydra. Fear is a hydra. Ooh, yeah. Fear is a hydra. Yeah. And yeah, if I wanted to like go further with that, it's almost like last week I was talking about how life is a fight for territory, right? The second you stop fighting for what you want your life to be, it immediately shifts into what you don't want it to be. If you just sit back and you're lazy and you don't worry about stuff, or I'm talking about not worrying, but if you sit back, you relax, and you don't plan, let's just put it that way. If you sit back, relax, you don't plan, and you don't take action on the things that you know you need to do on a daily basis in the present, your fear will grow two heads and it'll come back, and then it will basically take your life back to what you don't want it to be. All right, I'll do some more brainstorming on that and we'll come back with it later. But you guys get the gist of it. You always have to be fighting for it every day, right? Every day, it's a new day. It's a new chance for you to step up and be like, yes, this is what my life is. This is the person that I want to be. And this is where I'm going. And as soon as you think that there's some other guy at the wheel, as soon as you sit back, kick back in the back seat, and you start eating some Cheetos, and you start like reading comics, right? Reading comics is okay, but not reading comics and not paying attention to your life, right? As soon as you put somebody else at the wheel, they'll turn your life into what they want it to be, and usually it's not going to be good for you. It's going to be good for them. So yeah, this whole thought of banishing things in the past and not worrying about things in the future comes down to a simple thought, and that is called living in day-tight compartments. And this is a great idea that came from a book that I'm reading, and if you want to hear more about this, you can check it out online. You can read it in a book or hear it on a book on tape that's called Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie. And it's a really, really great book on tape. And I love listening to this while I'm working. I love listening to positive messages and just positive speeches all the time about improving life and stuff. And this is by far one of my favorite books that I've heard on tape. And it really, really helps out. A lot of great ideas and helpful exercises in there for people that worry about things. And who doesn't worry? Everybody worries about stuff. I worry about stuff every day. I worry about stuff way more than I should. And this was a good reminder. I was listening to this again today, and this quote here, living in day-tight compartments, really came back up to me, and it really stood out. And I was like, yes, this is something that I need to remember. And basically the analogy that he uses is these giant like freight liners, or these giant ships, right? They would have these controls that basically would shut off. Eventually, when all the workers were done in there and they came out to the top, they would shut off all of these compartments, all of the areas of the ship. They would shut down so that way no water could like if there was some sort of breach or there was some sort of like damage done to the ship, it could only flood the ship so much, and then the watertight compartments would seal it off, and the ship would still be able to make it to where it needs to go. And he said that he kind of compares this to living this way for your life. Imagine that you are the ship, right? And that after each day, that comprises a room. Then you shut that thing off. You shut that day off, and then you move on to the next day, the next room. And then nothing that happens in that last day, the previous day, will come in. Nothing will flood into the new room, your new day, right? And I really, really like that idea of just, it doesn't matter how bad you screwed up yesterday. It doesn't matter how stupid you looked doing, trying, or how much you failed yesterday. And it does, because this is something that I really had to come to terms with myself, because so often a day doesn't go the way that I want it to be. I get up and I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? I got this great, I'm just so excited. I'm going to just go constantly on the comic today. I'm just going to be working. I'm going to get all this stuff done. I'm going to clean the house. Everybody's going to love me, and it's going to be the best day ever. But you know what happens some days? I get that idea that I want to do that, and I wake up and I stay up, first of all, I stay up the previous night until like 5 o'clock in the morning, right? Either goofing off, playing games, or, just doing stupid stuff. And I go to sleep late, and then I wake up late. I wake up at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So immediately I get up and I'm like, oh, the day's already like half over. Now what do I do, right? And I actually had a really cool experience, and I recorded it in my journal a few months ago. And that was, I woke up, and even though I got up at like 1:30 in the afternoon, normally my first response to that would be, oh man, the day's half over, it's not even worth trying, right? And I have done that some days before. But you know what I did today? I decided, no, you know what? This is a new day, and I'm just going to pick it up from right here, and I'm going to do as much as I can. And I was doing the 26-34 rule too, and that's the rule basically talking about working for 26 minutes and then resting the other 34, taking a relaxed state of mind, being very, very present in the moment, not thinking about stuff in the future. Don't worry about all that crap right at that time. Then once that 34 minutes is over, you're back into work mode. You're focusing really, really intently on your task. And that was what I did that day. And I got more done that day than on days when I had woken up at like 8 o'clock in the morning, like a normal person, right? And then worked throughout the entire day, you know what I mean? Like worked constantly with no breaks, no 26-34. And, you know, that totally occurred to me. It's like, it's all in the mindset. It's all in the mindset. That's the biggest thing that determines what you get done that day. And so at that point, I kind of confirmed to myself that, you know, there's no more excuses. There's no more excuses. I can wake up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it doesn't matter. It's like I have the power to make my day into whatever I want it to be, regardless of what happened yesterday, and regardless of what I'm afraid of is going to happen tomorrow. I focus on right now, and I focus on how I'm feeling and making sure that I'm going at a pace that's comfortable for me. And it's just like you have that feeling in the back of your head that this is what I expect from myself. This is what is supposed to be done. And you just do your best to trust that, right? And make the plans. Make the plans. Make the plans for what you want to do. And writing down your progress really helps me out a lot. Like, I used to write down what I was doing like almost every 30 minutes. I would be writing in this thing, being like, I just did this. I did this. My next plan is to do this. And it really, really helped me out. And I keep telling myself that I want to get back into doing that because I remember when I was doing it, I was just in such a great state of mind. I just felt like everything was out of my mind. Like all the things that I was worrying about, they're just out. And all I had to do was just use my mind to focus on what was at hand. And I felt like I just felt supercharged. I felt like I could focus on anything because all of my worries and all my thoughts and plans, anything that had to do, anything else that would normally be clogging up all the space that was in here, you know, however little space there is in there, would be put here, right? And so I was able to focus all of my energy onto my job and my task and making the comic. So yeah, I would say that this whole idea of living in day-type compartments, it can really, really be started, or it could be kind of like jump-started by getting a journal, right? Or just writing down the things that you're worried about in the journal. Because I've noticed as I start to write down what I'm afraid of, or write down the things that I'm worried about in here, it's gone, right? I've transferred it from my mind to where you can like infinitely think about all the bad things, the infinite possibility of bad things that could happen to you. You can infinitely think about all the bad things that happened in the past and how those things like still are weighing you down, right? Holding you down. You can put all that right here, and then it's gone, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, if I ever want to feel bad later, I can just look at this and remember, oh yeah, that's why I used to feel bad. And then you can just like read about it. So yeah, I think that this is a really good way for you to put all the things that you're worried about. And I just did this today, and it really, really helped me out. So I want to urge those of you who haven't considered going out and getting journals, go out and check one out and just give it a shot. Give it a shot. And I think you'll find that there's some good things that come from it. And one of the biggest things that I've noticed that I've been writing, like the biggest changes that I notice when I write in this thing is usually when I just write down what I'm afraid of, right? And there's a series of questions that I ask myself, and I've talked about these before, but I'll go through them one more time because I think it's really important. Because a couple people have asked me, hey, I really want to get a journal, but I don't know what to write in it. And either you write down your goals and your ideas, but I think really where this comes in handy for me is writing down what I'm afraid of, writing down all those things that just clog my brain and clog like my working ability, right? They mess it up. And I take those things and I transfer them right on paper. And there's a series of questions that I ask myself that basically gets rid of any worry or fear. This is basically how you take what you're afraid of and you place it right in front of you, and then you look it straight in the face, and then you notice that it's not as big or as bad as you really thought it was. It's actually what you thought was this giant werewolf in the haunted forest. This is really a cute little puppy dog, and he actually can become your friend. Right? So these are the questions that I ask myself to do that, to put the fear in front of you. And that is, question one is, what am I afraid of? Right? This can be, I'm not afraid of paying my car bill. I'm not afraid, or I'm afraid of paying my car bill. I'm afraid that I'm losing my energy. I'm afraid that I'm getting old. I'm afraid that my wrist is going to seize up and then it's going to have to be amputated and placed into a friggin' I'm afraid that my mind is deteriorating and I can't remember anything that I'm talking about. Preservation. Preservation jar. You know, like in Futurama with the heads, except it'll just be my hand. And it'll be like, the hand that created Emma Comic Online. And, you know, so I'm afraid about all these silly things, you know, once you write them down. But when they're in your head, they just have a way of being so real to you, right? And I'm not saying that what you're worrying about isn't real, but oftentimes they're highly exaggerated, right? So this is kind of a fun game. First question, what am I worrying about? Second question, what's the worst that could happen? And this is really the fun part. I love asking myself what's the worst that could happen, because I start off kind of realistically, right? And then I just kind of take it a step further. It's like, hey, let's really use my imagination. Let's just write down the worst thing that could happen, right? They amputate my hand, and then it's placed in a preservation jar in a museum, and I can't use it anymore. And then I have to learn to draw with my mouth, or draw with this other hand, or draw with my feet, you know? Or maybe I just get so depressed that I don't want to draw anymore, and I just sit, you know, in a bed, and then I just waste away my life, and I don't say anything to anybody else, and I slowly fade away into the distance. Everybody forgets about me, and nobody cares, right? I get launched into space or something like that, because they don't even want to bury my body on Earth. They say it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace to a human being. So, you can see that's where I went with that. Or, another funny thing is, I mean, with bills, it's like, oh man, I get taken away by the IRS, or I get arrested by the police, and I go to jail. And then I have to make the comic on the sides of the jail cell walls with rocks. And, yeah, basically all kinds of silly things like that. But, yeah, I'd say definitely just write down what's the worst that could happen. And very, very quickly, you'll start to notice that when you really try to think of the worst thing that could happen or what's going to happen to you, you can only get so far, and then you realize, oh, that's not that big of a deal. So I gotta exaggerate this a little bit, right? And then you start writing down all these silly things, but you know that you're making those things up, right? Because once you transfer them to paper, you can't fool yourself anymore. And I think that's really where the magic comes in. Question one, what am I worrying about? Question two, what's the worst that could happen? Then the magic of question three comes along, and that is, what can I do about it? Sometimes the answer is nothing. Sometimes the answer is nothing. And if you ever write down what you're worrying about and what you can do about it, and your answer to what can I do about it is nothing, then literally you need to tear off that page, throw it away, and never think about that again. But oftentimes you'll be able to think of something that you can do. In fact, sometimes the thing that you can do is make a plan. Well, okay, I have this thing that I need to pay. Or I think that my hand might be I might be injuring my hand, and if I keep this up, it might not be able to work, or I might get arthritis or carpal tunnel, right? So then you start coming up with these ideas like, okay, what can I do about it? Well, I can start doing these exercises, right? I can start stretching my tendons and making sure I'm taking proper breaks, and I can get these little stress balls, right? These things really help me out too, right? So I do these. I do like the anti-squish muscles like this, right? By putting this little rubber band. Like if you have a Livestrong band and you do this, I don't know. It actually might be kind of hard for those of you who haven't been doing this for a while, who haven't built up the anti-squish muscles, the anti-pinch muscles. But I do that, and that really helps out. And then you got the little, stress balls. You just go ahead and squeeze those, and it really helps out too. So, and I could be taking supplements. I got glucosamine. I've got these awesome tablets that my dad has. He does like an essential oils type of wellness group thing. It's really cool. He has these awesome like supplements that I take, and it really, really helps me feel healthy and just full of energy. And I've noticed that like the pain in my hand has started to go away. I mean, it's virtually gone, nowadays. It gets tired and it gets kind of sore, but it doesn't have that same feeling as I used to, where it was just sore all the time and it felt like there was some sort of permanent damage being done. So that's left me, and I'm very, very happy about that. Okay, anyway, enough of that tangent. Let's move on to question 4. And question 4 is, when am I going to do this? And this is more a question for if you have a plan, right? If you've made a plan that's going to take time, you have to figure out when you're going to put it into place. Are you going to start today, or can you not start today? Can you start next week? But it's very important that you pick a definite date and time of when you're going to start doing this and when you're going to take care of it, right? Because once you do this, then you have essentially made the plan, and then you can follow up on it. And that's basically how I banish anything that I'm worried about, right? Oftentimes it's money things. And then as soon as I put it down, it's like, well, hey, really, what's the worst that could happen? Am I really going to be a hobo on the street? Am I really going to be drawing things on the sidewalk with chalk and having like a little hat out and people throwing quarters in there? No, that's not going to happen. Like, I have family that loves me. I have people that can take care of me. If it really gets to the point where I need to take care of myself as a man, I can find a job, right? If I have to go to the mall and sell jeans again, I can do that. If I need to look for another job in the video game industry doing art, I can do that too. And in fact, it's going to be a lot easier now that I have industry experience, right? And I have a portfolio. So I have all these things that are going for me, and yet I'm wasting away my time and energy worrying about those things, right? Because I haven't written it down, and I haven't stared it in the face and said, you are not scary. You are a little puppy dog, and you're going to be my pet, right? So I would highly encourage you guys, and I would highly recommend that you guys try that out. If you don't have a journal, then just write down on a piece of paper. Ask yourself those 4 questions. 1, what are you worrying about? 2, what's the worst that could happen? And really have some fun with that one. 3, what can you do about it? And 4, when are you going to do it? And I guarantee you, what you were worrying about won't seem that scary anymore. And oftentimes you'll find the solution right there. All right, guys. Now, I want to follow that up with another quote. This goes into worrying about the future. It's a great quote I heard. This was in Dale Carnegie's book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And the quote goes like this. It says, "Our job is not to focus on what lies dimly at a distance, but what lies clearly at hand." And I think that's totally, like, it's such a wise group of words, right? It just makes so much sense. Do not focus on what lies dimly at a distance, because you don't know what the heck is even up there. You don't even know, like, why are you so concerned about painting a picture of what the future is going to be like and forgetting about what you need to be doing today, right? Your job is not to focus on what lies dimly at a distance. It's to put all of your energy and focus into what lies clearly in front of you. Take the problems, take the opportunities, take the happiness, right? Because this isn't just dealing with problems. Oftentimes, you push away happiness, right? You don't even notice that what you're dealing with right now or what your life is amazing, and you would be so happy, you know? You don't realize how fortunate you are to be where you are in the present moment because you're worrying about what's going to happen in the future. That's very, very bad. That is unacceptable. The teacher of life would say that is unacceptable. So yeah, don't focus on what lies dimly at a distance. Focus on what is happening right now, because it's probably really good. I think there's always positive energy and just positive things that are happening all the time, that are in front of you, that are just waiting to be like soaked up and just enjoy, right? And there's also little things that need to be taken care of that also require your attention. That if you're putting it somewhere else, then those things will build up until they demand your attention, right? And you don't want to wait until that time, because at the point where something demands your attention, it usually, most of the time, could have been prevented if you were just taking care of those little things all the way up to the point where it became the giant, colossal, abominable snowman that it is. All right. Next quote I want to talk about is, "Every day is a new day to a wise man." And I really, really like this quote a lot. And this kind of goes back with that living in day-type compartments, right? Shut off the day before. As soon as you're done with it, start the new day. It's a new life. It's a new beginning. It's a new chance, right? No one's concerned about what happened yesterday, and no one's concerned about what's going to happen tomorrow. Everybody should just be concerned on what their new life is. What is today? What do I want today to be? So that way it rolls over and becomes who I am, right? How is what I'm going to do today shape who I am becoming, right? Because that's the other big thing about life, is it doesn't matter so much about what it is that you get, right? It doesn't matter that You go out and you get this really cool car, or you get, you know, this giant house or a mansion, you make millions of dollars. Those are all good things to strive for and have fun making goals for. But if you just had all those things given to you, right? If I just had all those things given to me, would I really feel that great? I might enjoy it for a while, you know, maybe, I don't know, a few months or maybe a few years. But deep down inside, I would know that I didn't really work for this. I didn't become anything trying to get the stuff. I didn't challenge myself. I didn't go through the hard times. I didn't, you know, it's just like everything was just given to me and I didn't earn it. And that would just eat away at me for so long unless I decided to become the person that could have those things, and then I was able to get those things for myself. But doesn't that make sense? Oftentimes, when you just have everything handed to you, you don't get to appreciate it as much. Anything that you've worked your butt off, you know, blood, sweat, and tears, you poured into something, it doesn't matter. Like, it could be something that's almost worth no value. Even like say the comic. I mean, if you were to really look at it, it's like it's only worth as much as you want it to be, right? It's worth, you know, the people reading it, and it's worth telling a story. But monetarily, it's like, I don't know what it's worth. It could be worth $1 million. It could be worth $0. I don't know. But the point is that who I'm becoming by making this, who I'm becoming by taking the chance and kind of striking out on my own and going against the grain and giving up that security of the job and just kind of fighting for what I want my life to be. That's turning me into somebody that I really believe I need to become. And that is the one thing that I'm going to have, right? When everything's said and done and my life's over, that's the one thing that I'm going to still have. And I'm going to be like, man, my life was good because of the person that I chose to become and because I didn't stop believing in that little voice in my head that says, I need to become this type of person. I need to fulfill my dreams. I need to follow my heart. I need to follow my soul. I need to create what I want to create. I need to tell this story, right? And I need to inspire and teach others maybe at the same time. So for those of you watching and yeah, listening right now, I appreciate that. All right. So, in fact, how long have we been going? Alrighty, people! So we've been going for about 30, oh no, we've been going for about 40 minutes. So I would please ask you to line up your catapults and cast them over the castle walls. If you have any questions, please launch them via catapult, and I'll answer them. And we will go upon our merry way into the weekend. Yes, yes, yes. So excited for the weekend. These weeks just go by like, right? Man, they go by so fast. All right, last thing we need to talk about is... Oh, the last thing I wrote down here is write down your problems and stare it in the face, right? And I think I want to kind of end on this because I think this is kind of the biggest thing that I've been experiencing lately. I've been experiencing a lot of fear. And just today, I decided to write it down. And it's funny that even the thought of writing it down, even the thought of knowing the solution, I still hesitate. I still hesitate to do it. Even though I know exactly what would make me relieved, even though I know what would help me in that moment, I'll still not do it. And I can't figure out exactly why that is yet. And yeah, it's a very puzzling thing to me. It's almost like I say to myself, well, I've been worried about stuff in the future, and yeah, I did that whole thing where I wrote it down in my journal, and I felt better, I guess, but why do I need that? Why do I need to rely on writing something in a journal? Why do I need to rely? Why can't I just do it all up here? You know, I think I'm just gonna not do that this time. I did that in the past, and it worked perfectly, but I'm not gonna do it this time, right? Because it's like, I got it, it's fine. I don't need that anymore. I don't need that, and I push it away, and sure enough, the problem doesn't get fixed, and I continue feeling bad, I continue feeling terrible, and I continue worrying about stupid things that don't need to be worried about because they get fixed. Basically, if you were to look at your life in a law of averages type of thing, it's like, okay, how often have the things that you've worried about actually created a terrible scenario in your life? Or how often have the things that you worried about actually ended up being something cataclysmic and terrible like you originally thought it was going to be? And the answer for me is 0. All the times that I've always worried about something, it's never happened as bad as I thought it was going to be. Or basically, if you think about it this way, it always gets resolved, right? Even if what you're worrying about actually happens, it's like you still get through it. The fact that I'm sitting here today shows that everything that I've worried about up until this point has always gotten resolved, and I always just keep going. So why should I let these new worries be pulling me down, right? If I know that just by law of averages, I'm going to get through it. It's just going to, life keeps on going, right? Life goes on, as many people have said. And I really want to have you guys think about that. All righty. Simon is sharing an awesome quote, and I'm going to go ahead and read that off. He's saying, look towards, but don't stare into the future. Oh, I actually really like that. Look towards, but don't stare into the future. That's actually really good. I'm going to write that one down, Simon. Thank you for that brilliant, brilliant quote. I love good quotes. I put good quotes in my journal as well. I have a special little place for that. Special little segment. Look towards, but don't stare in the future. That's brilliant! Alright, so I hope that you guys enjoyed what was shared today. I hope that if any of you are worrying about stuff, you'll take some time to really just put it down on paper, get it in a place where you can stare it in the face and say, look, I've been thinking a lot about you lately. I've been worrying about, I've been dreading you, right? I have been dreading your existence, whatever I'm afraid of. And I'm here to basically look you straight in the face and figure out exactly what you are. See you as for what you are and not keep you in my mind where you can become this giant, rabid, seething monster, right? And once you do that, I guarantee you, you'll notice that a lot of what you're afraid of is just an illusion. And you'll very, very quickly figure out the solution to what you're going for. All right, guys? So, we're going to go ahead and move on to the weekend. Everybody looking forward to the weekend, yeah. All right. Epic outro music to offset that nasty singing there. Alrighty, peoples. So thank you once again for joining me live on Ustream. For those of you on YouTube, thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. I'm Kienan Lafferty. I might be seeing you guys this weekend. Thinking about doing a secret stream. Well, we'll see. So keep yourself tuned in to Facebook and watch for anything. I'll also post it to Twitter if I'm doing a secret stream. And I'll see you guys this weekend. Later. Oh, whoop. Not that song. Yeah, not that one. We wanted this one. There we go.